Or it's 6:30. You ready? Good evening. A call to order the Genoa Township Board of Trustees meeting. This is a regular trustee meeting. Today is November 3rd, 2022, and the time is 6:30 p.m. A full and accurate account of this meeting's audio recording can be found at www.genoatwp.com. Roll call.
Mr. Antoinette? Here. Ms. Goodman?
Here.
Ms. Vaughn?
Here. Also present are Fiscal Officer Pat Myers, Rush Chabali, Deputy Police Chief, Steve Gamble, Police Chief, Bob Matthews, Director of Roads and Buildings and Grounds, Joe Ponzi, Fire Chief, Joe Schaefer, Director of Zoning and Development, Paul Wise, Township Administrator. At this time, I'd like to ask Brett Watson to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Brett. I'll turn it over to Pat Myers for the Fiscal Officer report.
Thank you. Oh, that's the one that wasn't open. Just a couple things for you tonight. I would ask the approval of trustee meeting minutes, August 29th special trustee meeting and the August 3rd regular trustee meeting.
I'll move to approve the following August 29th, 2022 special trustee meeting minutes and October 3rd, 2022 regular trustee meeting minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Antoinette?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, motion carries.
Okay, the only other thing, I'll have the financials for your signature and review. Quickly, as of September 30th, 2022, no outstanding adjustments. Total fund balance of $30,214,470.42. Pooled investments, that breaks down, pooled investments, $21,452,835.79, and a primary account of $8,761,634.63. Again, there are no adjusting factors, and everything is balanced and cleared. And I'll have that for your signature. And unless you have anything for me, I don't have anything else.
Perfect, thank you. I'll open it up to public comment. All right, seeing none, we'll move on to trustee comments. Anyone?
I have a couple. First off, I'd like to thank everyone, staff, and residents who volunteered to make the Trick or Treat open house this year such a success. I'm not sure who ordered the beautiful weather, but please contact them again next year. Mr. Wise has done it, he tells me. But it was a beautiful day, wonderful turnout, and I think everyone had a great time. I also had an opportunity to participate with the police department on Monday night, Halloween night, in handing out candy. That's always a lot of fun, but this year I had a special opportunity. Rocky the dog was in the car. And needless to say, no one wanted to say anything to me. Rocky was a huge, huge hit. And he certainly has made an impression on the middle schoolers that ran up in droves to greet the dog. As soon as they saw a canine on the side of the car, it was Rocky, Rocky. And he was also delightful when the little kids, the toddlers and preschool kids approached. And a lot of the parents had a pretty good time greeting Rocky too. So I understand from Officer Berner that Rocky has done an amazing job in the middle school. He has done his job and more. Some of the stories he shared during our ride were very heartwarming. So thanks to the police department for giving me that opportunity to ride with them, and also for all the work that is being done with the canine dog.
Very good, thank you. Mark, do you have anything?
Anything?
No. I have one thing, and I'll preface it with, I I don't have an opinion on this topic, but it was brought to my attention, so I'd like just discuss as trustees. There was discussion of possibly just having an e-newsletter rather than the printed newsletter every other month. To print and send the newsletter through the mail is around $5,000 for a total of $20,000 per year. I've talked to a few staff members about this, and there's positives and negatives of either way. I do think that a lot of times we know the timeline for the printed version, we have to have all of that content ready to go about a month before. So sometimes that information is dated by the time it gets to residents, whereas if you just did a monthly e-newsletter, it would be more timely. There wouldn't be strict parameters with 4 pages. It could be longer some months, it could be shorter other months. It just, I think there'd be more flexibility, but I don't know if either of you, I'm putting you on the spot, if you have a thought one way or another.
I'm all for it. If you can save some money, I don't know how you'd get all those email addresses. That might be the struggle, right?
Yeah,
This topic came up, I want to say 3 or 4 years ago.
okay.
And that was exactly what came up, is that there would be people that were missed if we went to an email newsletter, because with the mailing, we can get that listing from the county, however we get it. We get every house in the township, whereas emails, it would possibly miss people, and specifically some of the older population that isn't real savvy with technology. So, I mean, I'm for it, but I also understand there are limitations, and I don't want people to miss out on whatever news we have.
And I would agree. There was talk of, I wonder how many people don't get the e-version because they get the printed version, and if that version wasn't offered, would they then opt in for the e-version? I don't know. I would like to do a survey, and that would mean having a printed version at least in January, because I don't think it's fair to email out a survey on whether you want to get your newsletter electronically, because those people are already getting things electronically. So I would be in favor of at least putting a survey in the January newsletter just to see if everybody's getting that paper version. I also wonder how many people read it. Do they get it in the mail and it goes straight to the trash, or do they look at it briefly and it goes in the trash? I don't know.
I think that's all over the board. I've had
Okay.
residents who have commented on things that are in there, so I know that they've read it. There are others. One of my neighbors, in fact, sold her house a few years ago. She had every newsletter from the time she bought the house, so that the people who bought the house would know what was going on in the township. So that's a little bit the extreme the other way. But, you know, I'm a little concerned about putting it in the newsletter as a survey. I'm not sure how people would respond with that. Would they mail something in? Would they go somewhere online? I mean, I think the results might be limited.
Okay. Yeah, again, I don't have answers. That's why I wanted to bring it up. Yeah, I don't know what the best way to go about it is. I just feel like if it's, you know, in the grand scheme of things of our budget, it doesn't impact it that much, but I also think if we can save $20,000 a year, that would be great. I had also mentioned that we could, as a township, we have a copy machine, we could print a certain number of paper copies of the newsletter, and people can stop in and get them, or we could put them in different locations throughout the area. I don't know. I mean, it was just an idea.
How many people are on the email mailing list for that, do we know?
I think, according to Leslie, I thought it was 2,000 to 3,000, but she wasn't for sure. But there's 8,000 plus homes in the township.
That's what I mean.
So it's, but again, how many of those?
25% of them right now are getting the email.
Yeah,
But if they have a choice, you know, you're right.
you have a comment?
Well, if you don't mind, if you're okay to me giving you a suggestion on this.
Yep.
We know how many homes they're going to, right? Perhaps if we put something on the front page of the next newsletter saying, we're thinking about going electronically, please forward your email to this address, populate how many emails you receive,
and see what that comparison is to the amount you're sending out, and determine at that point if it's something that would make sense to go electronically with. So, just a suggestion.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that. And if they don't reply, then they're not interested, so why keep sending it to them? I think it's worth investigating, researching.
Okay. Are you?
That's fine.
Okay,
I'd look
yeah,
into it.
again, I'm not.
ready to make a commitment either
No,
way.
and
but
I'm not ready to either. I just wanted to open it up for
If you want to
discussion.
research it, I have no problem with
Okay,
that.
okay. Very good. All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
So are you gonna talk to Leslie?
I'll
about
talk to
putting-
Leslie and we'll come up with a plan. But also, if you want to talk to Leslie and you have ideas, go for it. All right, we're gonna go to zoning.
Good evening, trustees. I have two items for you this meeting. The first is we've received a resignation from the zoning commission from alternate member Jeffrey Bishop. He's just determined that he's had ongoing work conflicts and it appears he's going to continue to have ongoing work conflicts, and he just thought it would best, since he can't commit the time, to resign from the commission. So I ask you accept that resignation this evening.
Okay, I'll move to accept the resignation of zoning commission member Jeff Bishop effective November 3rd, 2022. Do I have a second?
Second?
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Antoinette? Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, motion carries. I want to thank Mr. Bishop for his service.
Leave a vacancy as an alternate. As a board, do we want to wait until spring, which is April? It is an alternate, or do we want to look at filling it with perhaps some of those folks that applied with our most recent opening? And my personal opinion, as long as I'm talking, is we wait.
That's my preference.
Okay,
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
okay,
Yep, perfect.
done.
Easy.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Second item on the agenda is resident Bill Bird has graciously donated to the township. He has a large format printer, so this isn't the type of printer you would normally see in a house or even a business. The engineers are familiar with this type of printer, though. It can print like very large 24 by 36 type of documents. Mr. Bird's retired from the engineer profession. He had this as part of his engineer job. It was his personal item. He doesn't need it anymore, and he's very kind and offered it to us a few weeks ago. It's one of those items that was sort of always a nice to have, and not a need to have for the zoning department. These things cost $7,000 to $8,000 for like probably just a middle of the road one on the market. So we've never wanted to go buy one or ask for one, but I did poll some of the other departments and said, hey, yeah, I could use it to print some maps and drawings and stuff, but do the other departments think there would be some use? And I got a positive response. Fire's already used it, and police said they were interested. They thought they definitely would be able to use it as well, and I'm sure we could use it for the maintenance departments, even if it's just maps that we post internal to the buildings for just reference purposes, or any other construction drawings, or just posters for events and whatnot that we may have. So I just come before you. It's already sitting in my office if you want to see it, but I just come before you this evening to graciously accept the donation from Mr. Bird.
Okay, I'll move to graciously accept the donation of a printer from Bill Bird. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Yes, this is right up my alley. We deal with a lot of these, and we deal with, as the ones get older, so there's a lot of issues. First of all, do you know how old this is?
It's several years old. I think its
Oh,
manufacturing date
several's
was
not bad.
2016, 2017, I think.
So is there a maintenance agreement that we need to enter into?
I think in terms of getting it maintained, we would just have to call someone if it would, to break.
It wouldn't be on a regular maintenance schedule?
Not unless you think we need to contract with
I don't know
someone
how
to do
old
that.
it is, or even what the brand name is.
It's an HP design.
I mean, I
jet,
don't have
think.
any problem, I mean, if it's free, we take it, and
That was
I'd
sort
just
of
be
my
cautious about the
thought
fact that it's
process.
free doesn't mean it's free.
Yeah, the ink isn't cheap, I can tell you that. I think the cartridges run about $200 a pop, is what I was told. And the rolls of paper obviously aren't going to be free.
He gave us a very large supply of stuff.
Yeah, but we have a starter kit for sure. I mean, certainly if we think it's just becoming more of a headache or, a cost drain, we can reconsider.
Yeah.
But I was sort of your same mindset is it's free right now. If it works out, great. If it doesn't,
Right? You're not out of anything.
You know how to fix them? Just checking.
Know what it costs. That's all I had.
Okay. Roll call, right?
Mr. Antoinette?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman? Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, motion carries.
That's all I have for you, unless you have anything for me.
No, very good. I want to thank Mr. Byrd for the generous donation. Next, Paul Wise, Administration.
Thank you very much, Board. This evening, we have Scott Belcastro here from Trebell. He wants to give the board some updates on the gas and electric aggregation and where we are with our residents and potential savings to the residents. So Scott, go ahead. You have the floor.
Good evening, Board, Administration. Scott Belcastro from Trebell here, just to talk about natural gas rates as we go into this winter season. A lot of people were concerned. I've printed out and given to everybody, and I'll read this off so that folks can hear it at home. The graph here that shows with the color, it's the NYMEX, the cost, the raw cost of natural gas. As you can see, look, starting here in July, it was at 63, almost 64 cents a CCF. Again, everybody, this isn't the all-in price. It's just the cost of gas by itself. August, it went to 84. September, it went to 91. You take each one of these numbers and add 0.165 to obtain the utilities rate, all-in rate, but you can find that on apples to apples. But the point being is when it's over $1.10 per CCF, it freaked a lot of people out this summer. And they were worried about heading into a winter with gas prices nearly double or triple, up 300% from years past. So it's really become a top-of-mind issue. And you can see here also the volatility that's happening. So you go into October, the settlement was around 67, went to 50 and a half, call it 51 cents per CCF. And these settlements, everybody, happen 3 to 4 days from the end of every single month. So it just, when they hit that 50 cents, it was just pure luck that they got that. But so the reason I brought you the second graph is to show you both two things, volatility and that there was no opportunity to even have a discussion with you about locking in some rates a few weeks ago. Wasn't even an option. I didn't feel that it was the right thing to lock people into a contract of any duration during, we're at the highest they were. So looking at the second graph, you'll see that it was over 70 cents per CCF. You go back farther, it was at 90. You know, it's not on the graph there, but it drops all the way down somewhere about the 22nd to 22 cents pardon me. On the 22nd of October, it went to about 48 cents per CCF. That's when I started hitting the call button, reaching out to my communities and discussing maybe we should make a move on it quickly. So, you know, those are pretty massive movements. 2 days after I did that, it went straight back up to 62, 63 cents. And as of today, when I left the office, the market closed at around 58 cents. So, look, it's headed back down again. And so today I'm asking for a program that gives me the ability to lock in a rate for residents starting January 1 at a rate no more than 769 cents per CCF all in. So that's the price of the NYMEX that you see on this sheet plus the adder portion, and it just fixes the rate. All right, it's an all-in rate of 769. I'm not saying we've only got about till November 14th to do this. Why is that? As everybody is familiar, on the 14th is the last day. After that, I can't really hit the January start date because we have to file with the PUCO, send out letters to residents for 21 days, and then we have like a 12-day wait period for the bill cycle or with the utility. The point is I need time to get it organized for the January 1. If I cannot hit a 769 and I can't hit my date of January 1, then I think we should punt this until spring where rates may be more favorable, maybe, you know what I'm saying? But I think at that point, we'll just take a breath and worry about it then. But if we can protect ourselves right now, I think it'd be prudent to try to lock something in if we can get there.
Wouldn't the math be .749, not 769? Based on your communication to Paul? I know it's Penny.
That's what we have on our page, but if it's changed since then.
But I mean,
Yeah,
good through the 14th of November.
I've got to go back and look at where I got that from. If I told you 749, because you guys have an agreement with Archer, correct?
Yes.
So what we would be doing is taking the remaining term of your existing agreement, flipping it into a fixed rate and extending it out, through that April to the end of that term. So it's the same exact agreement. We're just asking for the ability to flip it into a fixed rate if it's under that 769. So probably somewhere lost in translation. I apologize. I may have been looking at a shorter term, but look, I'm indifferent. If you want to make it 749, that's fine too.
No, I'm just going by what.
Yeah,
what
yeah.
we
I
have
mean,
here.
I'm not even that worried either way. I think the 769 gives us a little more flexibility here tonight.
How about 729?
That's my goal. I'm serious. That's kind of my goal. That's what I've been telling folks. If the rates continue to head south, my goal is to hit that 729. But look, I need some flexibility. I don't think any resident's getting one way or the other, upset about 729, 769. The fact is, people hate this variability right now, and having something stable for the term of our agreement would be probably wise to do.
Do we need a motion? Page, right? Mhm.
And then put definitely a fixed number in there, either 769 or 749, whatever the board wants. 749 is giving the goal.
Yeah, but also, if we don't get there and we miss it by a 10th, are you going to be mad about it? That's all I'm asking.
What's the board's consensus?
2 tenths, yes.
769, 749.
I'm okay with 769.
Okay. I will move to enter into an agreement with Archer Energy. And I don't know do I do this addendum 1? What am I supposed to be reading here?
Move to adopt addendum 1 to the master service.
Addendum 1?
Here on the second page.
If you read the last line of that.
Okay, that's all I need? I don't need all of the above? Okay. All right, so I'll move to agree and authorize vendor, Archer Energy and Trebell, to provide a fixed price to its aggregation members for the period of time from January 1st, 2022 through May 31st, 2024 at a rate of .769 per CCF. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? Do I put a date on here till November 14th? Do I need that? Okay, all right. Any other discussion, roll call? You have a comment?
You just said January 1, 2022.
That's what it says. Yes, it's 22, should it be 2023?
23 through.
Okay,
Mid-
I'll amend
December.
my motion, thank you, to January 1st, 2023, and we'll have to change it on our copy.
Yes.
Okay, roll call?
Mr. Antoness?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman? Yes. Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, motion carries.
And for the record, I will second your amended motion.
Thank you, yes.
A little
thank you.
late, but
Yes,
better not than not
yes,
at all.
thank you. All right.
All right, so I've got some good news for residents, sort of, depending on how you look at it. AEP Ohio, the electric company utility, has an auction that's, happens twice, twice to determine the rate for the utility rates that take effect next June, June of 2023. That auction took place yesterday. As all of you know, or may not be reading in the newspaper, there are certain other companies that are dumping their customers back to the utility, and it's causing major disruptions in our market. As a result, the suppliers that bid on the load to serve those people who don't have their own supplier or an aggregation, that auction took place yesterday. And it settled at over just over $119 per megawatt hour. I'm just gonna give you the gist of this. What that really stands for is, move the decimal point over, it's going to be over pretty much 11.9 cents a kilowatt hour, starting June 1st with the utility. Huge jump in price, and it's gonna be quite expensive. Now, due to the inefficiency in that auction, if the board, and this was just being creative today and thinking about how to mitigate risk that the market could move by spring, and to mitigate, to take some of the savings off the table, if we locked in the 45%, which is what got locked in today with the utility, we can pretty much lock in savings on that 45% of 15-20% savings. All right? With the second auction happening in March 7th of 23, we would buy the rest of the electric for Genoa. What we've done then is guaranteed ourselves savings. If the worst scenario is that if there was no savings because the second auction went up and something happened, it would give you, this township, the ability to walk from the deal, which gives you no risk now. And the worst thing that could happen, I guess, the downside is if the market were to go down appreciably, you've already bought the 45% today and locked in your savings. So what I'm saying to you is you could have gone out in the market, probably got a little better rate. On the flip side is you've taken 45% of your risk off the table, which is smart, and you're going to save the residents money, guaranteed, off the comparative to the utility. So it's a win-win, really. You can either walk from the deal if the rates go way up and something were to happen, which it won't, but we can guarantee our 15-20% savings today by locking it in. We'll go and purchase the rest of the 55% at the auction day on March, and at the very least, you're gonna get that, 9-10% savings. And you're gonna be saving residents comparative to using the utility. If anybody gets a better rate in the market, remember, there's no early termination fee. They can go shop on their own. We're just taking advantage of an incredible inefficiency in the market, and it's gonna be for a one-year deal starting next year, through 1 year. And then we'll see what happens after that, But I think it's a great opportunity for the township to lock in those savings for the residents. Questions?
Yeah.
Yep, go ahead. No, that's what we're here for.
So you want a decision now as to whether we should take advantage of this opportunity?
Well, the market happened 2 days ago, and so we'd have to move quickly because the market's good today. The market probably squeaked down a little bit yesterday. I think we could, we can run the risk that wait 2 weeks if you have another meeting. But if you're talking about another month, I think you should make that decision today.
And not having my electric contract in front of me, when is ours?
June of 23 with Energy Harbor.
Okay.
And so what we're gonna do is I began with my council crafting the language for the new agreement with Energy Harbor. And I'm gonna send that over. If you guys give me approval, I'll send that to them tomorrow, see if they're okay, if their legal team is okay with it. And if they're okay with it, we would then have, bring it back, have Paul sign the agreement, and we'll lock in that 45% as soon as the agreement is signed. So we'll get that 45% bought now, we get the rest of it March 7th, and then we've locked in our savings for next year.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Is it okay? If we know there's an auction on March 7th,
Yep,
and the other auction happened when? The first
2 days
auction?
ago.
When did you know about that one?
What's that?
When did we know about that one? Because if it happened 2 days ago on a Tuesday, and then you come to the trustees to tell us about it, did we know about it 6 months ago, and they could have known about this 2 months ago and been thinking about it, or is this? did they actually just-
I can't tell you guys what the settlement rate was gonna be 6 months ago.
Oh, I
Is that-
understand that, but did we know there was an auction scheduled? We could have been talking about what the strategy might have been before.
The answer is yes, we could have done that, so.
We should in the future, I think, because it does put you guys on the spot, having to make a decision, I'm sorry.
To be fair, we don't, there's this inefficiency in where those guys were bidding versus what we ended up at, what the market's at. We've not seen this kind of headroom, so to speak, this differential ever before. I've not seen it. This is purely just like, wow, they're all spooked, so they bid way high, and it just created an opportunity. I had no idea I was gonna even have an opportunity like this, so I agree with you that we could talk about when the auctions are, but I had no idea we were gonna have this opportunity.
And to be fair, I talked to you, I don't remember if it was earlier this week or last week, and you didn't say anything because
Well,
you didn't have any news.
I didn't know anything.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
this is such a recent development because of what's happening in our market with the group up north dumping all their customers, so it's spooking everybody. All the utilities right now have settled at over $110 a megawatt hour. The whole state's going, what is that? It's almost double since, last year. It's more than double. Absolutely. Remember, I think our rate now is only $4.59, so it's like super cheap, Or, yeah. It's in the 4 cents per kilowatt hour range.
So you're saying we're going to purchase 45% now, and then we'll purchase 55% in March?
Yep.
And we don't know what that rate will be?
No, but keep in mind, whatever happens there affects the PTC also starting in June. It all lines up together. Today, in my mind, if we bought at exactly the same rate that the utility buys it for in March, but we've locked in our savings today, that already implies
The
we've
win.
got our savings locked in for the next year. That's why this is a really great opportunity for the residents to lock something up with no risk to it.
And so if we lock something in now, it's good for 6 months?
It'll be a 12-month
12
deal
months.
starting in that June, July timeframe.
Okay.
Yep. So your old one will expire. This puts in place a 1-year deal behind it with a guaranteed savings to residents.
So even though we're locking in today or in the next couple weeks, it won't take effect until June?
Correct.
Okay.
It's June or July. I got to
Yeah,
check that.
yeah,
when the-
whatever,
When the
yeah.
actual end date
Okay.
is. but
It's not going to take effect today?
No,
Or even in
no.
March? It's later?
Nope.
Okay.
Everyone will remain right now in your 4 cent per kilowatt hour program and reap the benefits. The utility rate now through the end of the year is at 7.23. And so you guys are saving a ton of money on the program.
And so, I know you can't tell the future.
Yeah.
But how do we know that the rates aren't going to be great in June when we have to renew?
Yeah, it's putting me way on the spot here.
Well,
The weatherman doesn't get it right for the
Right.
weekend, so I don't know how, but the reality is, I'll just say this, I think I'm okay in saying that Energy Harbor told me on the phone today, I would lock in your rate today, not wait. He goes, our weather projections are calling for cold spring, which would imply rates would be driven up. So that's his comment. And I talked to another supplier today that I was with, and their feelings are right now with with the auction that happened today, this is a really smart move. So I've got two other folks validating the concept.
Anyone else? Stop. Questions?
No, I think you've covered the question.
Okay, all right.
So it's a matter of, do we
You know,
want to
I-
do anything?
Yeah.
I apologize, this is complex stuff. I mean, you kind of relying on me to get it right.
Well,
but-
and likewise.
I think
put you
my
on the
track
spot,
record's
but
been
what-
pretty
what-
good.
What choice do I have?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just saying, like, you know, our track record's been pretty good, and, you know, again, there's no early termination fee, so the risk is there. If the rate were to be higher than the PTC, you can walk, so your risk is nothing there. And, the supplier doesn't care, because if rates go up, the 45% that they purchase today, or tomorrow, or whenever, they can sell it in the market at a premium, because it's so cheap. And then again, if rates were to go down for some reason, residents have no early termination fee, they can go shop on their own. All right? But nonetheless, we're still guaranteeing a savings relative to the utility for 1 year.
This is the way I look at it. We hire him to analyze the information. And if residents find a better rate than what he's giving them, they can shop elsewhere, and you're gonna lose money. Let's be real.
It is, I do, so.
Yes.
you
So it's
know,
not advantageous for you to steer us wrong,
Ever,
is what I was saying.
ever. No, I mean, these are complex subjects, and I hate to come into the township and have to figure it out. The only weather I can do is have class on Thursday once a year, you know, to go through it. But this is, again, a recent development. These markets are unlike anything we've ever seen. My job is to bring to you guys creativity, manage risk, and if I can bring savings to the residents, that's what I'm here to do, so.
And to be fair, I talked to you earlier in the week, and you said tonight regarding the gas, if you didn't have a good deal for us, you were not going to recommend that we lock in a rate.
It's true.
Yeah, but you are recommending, so it is a good rate.
Well, it's up to, we still have to get there.
I
The
know.
market has to keep going down.
I know.
But I'm not gonna write deals just for the sake of writing deals. If it makes sense, we're gonna do it,
Right.
okay? I used to live here, so I've been
know.
through a few meetings.
I know.
I'm not gonna do anything that's putting me at
Yeah.
risk, you know?
Right.
Well, I think the other thing is, I can't remember how long we've had this contract. I would say 6 or 7 years off the top of my head. And over that time, I think you have done a good job for the residents, that we've not heard huge complaints. There's people that wouldn't go on aggregation if you forced them. So there's always naysayers, but I think overall, it's been of a benefit to the township, and I don't think you've steered us wrong.
Yes.
So,
But Paul could probably speak
Yeah, I
to
know,
this. Go ahead.
a lot of residents like the program a lot better than they like Scott Belcastro, so.
Ouch.
No kidding,
But, all right.
yikes.
No, I'm just kidding, Scott.
All
But,
right.
No, we've experienced savings under the plan. And so if things go south on us next summer where this is not advantageous, then people will jump off. We could not recommend it. So I think it's a win situation for people who have large bills.
I'm in favor.
Okay.
Do we need to make a motion?
Yeah, we need a motion this evening. Yeah. I need a motion this evening to move forward with, Energy Harbor to lock in 45% of your load currently, and to lock in the remaining 55% in March. And then, my council will create other language, obviously, to give you guys your outs on this, okay?
Yep,
You bet.
we also need to authorize Mr. Wise to sign that when he gets the paperwork.
okay.
We do. Oh, one more thing, if you can add to it, Trustee Vaughn.
Yep.
It is for a 12-month period, starting at the end of your current agreement. It's only for a 12-month period.
Got it. Well,
Na-
go ahead.
Nailed it.
Well, we'll see.
Yep.
Haven't made it yet, but I'm sure we can amend it. All right, I'll make a motion to move forward with Energy Harbor to lock in 45% of our load and lock in the remaining 55% in March. I also authorize Paul Wise to be the signer for a 12-month period starting at the end of the current contract. How's that?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion?
Could we define the load in that? What is the load? 45% of the load of what?
Yeah, so we get the load from the utility for this community.
I understand that. What's the
How-
load?
How much power,
You know,
energy?
It's electricity, right? Electricity, right?
yeah, electricity. Power.
Okay.
Sorry, I thought you were being more specific. When you, in my industry, when you say the load, you want me to like nail down 160 million point four kilowatt hours? No, it's electricity contract. Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you. All right, roll call?
Mr. Antoinette?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Belcastro. Next, Paul?
Thank you. Next up, we have Chief Ponzi and I, since March, February this year, have been meeting with, discussing a game plan on moving forward for the old police station. The tenant left the building when his new building was built, and we have been working with Horn and King through a proposal, and we finally nailed down a scope that Chief Ponzi and I are comfortable with for moving forward to demo partial building and relocate all the utilities, which are a mess in that building. Approving this proposal with Horn and King will begin the paperwork so that we can legally move forward with the demo and relocation of utilities. Takes a lot of time and effort to put these plans to writing. I've learned through this position that when you're asking for permits to do anything in Delaware County, it requires extensive bureaucratic literature. So I request tonight that the board move forward with this proposal so that we can begin the process to move, to change go ahead with the demo of the police station.
All right, I'll move to authorize a purchase order to Horn and King Architects in the amount of $54,800 for professional design services for demolition renovation of the former police station. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion.
I do have some questions. I don't see anything in here about them getting the permit. So submitting a building permit, obtaining a building permit. And then the other question I have is, how did we select this firm? Did we go through a qualification-based selection?
Yes, we used that, we went through a qualification-based process back when we did the police station. They initially did a facilities assessment for us.
Okay.
And so that's why they were so easy to work with on this, because they knew the condition, they'd been in the buildings, et cetera, so already, so they knew the bad parts and where some of those utilities are, so, yes.
Okay, so I would just advise you to confirm, because I saw no language in here about getting us a permit.
They're under soft costs, second set. Second page, there's soft costs. There's building permit, permit documents, printing, bid documents.
Yep. Application of the building permit, 7,000.
I'm sorry, where is it? Second page?
If you go into the soft cost page near the end of the stapled packet, it's like third page from the end.
Yeah.
Bid document printing, legal notice advertisements. So they have, and we've met with them and we understand that they have the experts who will be able to fill out those forms. It was understood with the contract that that's part of it. Correct, Joe?
I would agree.
Okay, you're comfortable with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other discussion, questions? Paul, this is just for, this is the scope of work, and after this, we will get bids for the project.
This will draw out everything we need to permit to do the utility location and the demos. So,
Okay. All right, roll call.
Mr. Antoinette?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman? Yes. Ms. Vaughn?
Carries.
thank you. Next up, once again, everything is a long story. The story begins 20 years ago when the Board of Trustees went and provided some traffic calming by installing stop signs in intersections that were unwarranted in the township. We've identified 5 stop signs where the police have been bugged lately with requests to cite people at these stop signs, and we cannot legally cite people. So that the residents have been questioning, you have a stop sign there, I want something done, which opened up this can of worms with, we can't cite them, or else a very smart attorney will come back and sue us. Secondly, if there's ever any accidents at this caused by the stop sign, these are unwarranted stop signs, and Mark knows exactly what an unwarranted stop sign is. So we asked for a REA, which is a request for engineering assistance from Delaware County, to see over the last 20 years if these stop signs have become warranted. They did a study at each of these intersections. The crossroads where they approach the unwarranted stop signs are warranted, but the ones that the township have added after the fact are not warranted. And so that leaves us with a recommendation by the prosecutor that said Mark Fowler's opinion was we'd go with whatever the engineer says because they have the engineering expertise. So it's a hard decision. It's going to probably require some education by our communications director on what is happening. It's not an overnight process where the signs will come down tomorrow. It has to be, Bob knows the routine about setting up signs that will announce that there's going to be a change at the intersection. So it's 2 wrongs don't make a right. We have to do something that will correct the situation. So it's a hard decision. I mean, the board, these were done, I think 1 sign was actually put on since I've been here. But other than that, everything's been up 20 years or beyond when I was employed with the township.
All right, I'll move to approve the recommendation by the Delaware County Engineer to remove unwarranted intersection stop signs at the following intersections: Spring Run at Chateau Lane, St. Andrews Drive at Fraser Road, Somerset Drive at Gainey Court, Hillmar Drive at Grisham Street, Hillmar Drive at Pine Hollow. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Paul, your REA had 6 intersections, correct? That you had the engineer's office look at, and 1.
5.
5.
I thought on the email, the original list had 6, but only 5 are unwarranted.
One, two, three, 5. 5,
There were only 5?
yeah.
Okay. I thought when I looked at the email, there was a list of 6. I must be mistaken. Okay.
Can I say something?
Yes.
There is it isn't Spring Run and Chateau Lane. It's Spring Run and Dunaway.
In Dunaway?
Yeah. And that is one they evaluated.
Okay.
But I'm looking for the REA, and it says Spring Run and Chateau.
Yeah, that was the one that we probably shouldn't do right now until we get clarification on. Because of the typo.
Right.
Maybe amend the motion.
See, here it is, on the page 2, there's 6 of them.
Yeah, this is weird because it says stop signs are warranted on. And then the next one, stop signs are not warranted on, and it is some of the same intersections.
Yep.
Well, those are the cross streets. Some of these are cross streets.
No, the first one says stop signs, yeah, are warranted on, and then the other one says, yeah, so one has a list of 6, and the other one has a list of 5. Is whatever street is listed first, that has the stop sign? Because sometimes they're reversed.
Yes, I know Spring Run and Chateau. If you're coming from Chateau, there's a stop sign that probably is warranted, but the other side of it, when you're coming down.
Right, Spring Run,
not.
yep.
Same with Fraser and Highland Lakes or St. Andrews Drive. When you're just cruising down St. Andrews Drive, all of a sudden there's a stop sign right there. It's the only stop sign in all of St. Andrews Drive, you know? But the
So
one
we
on the
need-
other side of Fraser is fine, right?
So the resolution should be for 5 of them.
It is, and it is.
Or 4, because the Chateau is, it's already, there's no stop sign on Spring Run, correct?
Not at Chateau.
It should be Dunaway.
But I would be uncomfortable putting Dunaway
Same.
in here.
No, we can't
Yeah,
do
we'll cross it
Dunaway.
off.
We have to
Correct.
ask for an REA for that.
Yep.
Correct. So we cross off the Spring Run at Chateau.
Yep.
And only do the other 4.
Yep.
Is that correct?
So I'm going to amend my motion and take out Spring Run and Chateau Lane,
At Chateau Lane.
at Chateau Lane.
And I will second that amended.
Thank you.
And then we'll automatically do another REA for the other one?
Yes, if,
Okay.
I won't need to run your signatures down if you pass a resolution to authorize me to sign the REA.
I suggest we
For
do
that.
that next.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's pass this one first. Okay, any other discussion before we vote? All right, roll call.
Mr. Antoinette? Yes. Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Motion carries. All right, so now a motion,
To authorize Paul Wise to submit an REA to Delaware County Engineers for the intersection of Spring Run Drive and Dunaway to do a warrant analysis. Right, Bob?
all right, so I'll move to authorize Paul Wise to submit an REA to the Delaware County Engineers Office to assess the stop sign at Spring Run at Dunaway.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Antoinette?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, motion carries.
May I jump in here
Yes,
with
go
one
ahead.
question? Mr. Wise, could you also address the REA that was submitted about the left turn signals at Big Walnut and State Route 3, since we did get an answer on that?
Yes, Board. We've received a partial answer. We haven't received an official answer from Delaware County. They want to have something written up officially for the board. But the board had requested that an investigation be made on the intersection, all intersection approaches of State Route 3 and Big Walnut Road, where traffic has been backing up because there's no dedicated turn arrows, left turn arrows. So the state of Ohio performs that analysis. The technical expert responded back yesterday that after review, the lack of the arrows are not providing too big of a weight for residents to at this time, to adjust the light. By adjusting the light now, it may cause a bigger traffic problem. So
In
they're-
all other directions.
in
is
all
how- Yeah,
directions.
is how I read it, yeah.
So you'll be getting official letter probably in a week from Delaware County stating that. But we've tried, I know I've tried several times to turn through there, and you have to wait a long time to make the right left-hand, to make the left-hand turn, so.
Thank you.
Sure.
Perfect.
Lastly, the township has been asked by the Delaware County Land Bank to assign representatives for now and next year. So I asked the board for resolution for that reason.
Okay, I'll move to support the appointment of Brian Newell, Liberty Township trustee, as the Delaware County Land Bank representative for a term commencing immediately until December 31st, 2022. Do I have a second?
Second.
Wait a minute.
It's
wait a
not
minute,
on
I'm
there. I
sorry.
know, it was missed. This,
Michelle Bonny's not,
Next year.
That's
I'm
separate.
going to do that next.
oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. I had a second, correct, Ms. Trustee Goodman?
Second,
Yes,
yes.
okay, roll call.
Mr. Antoinette?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman? Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, thank you, motion carries. Now I will do the next ones. So Liberty Township went ahead because Mike Schuling was the land bank representative, and they felt that it was only fair that their township finish out the rest of their term. So they went ahead and passed a motion and didn't tell anybody else about their wanting to have Brian Newell, because he is the acting administrator until they find one. So they want him to finish out their term. And then pretty much it's Concord, Genoa, Orange, and Liberty that have residents that are of 10,000 or more, so that we all are part of this land bank. And there hasn't been another person in any of the other townships who has expressed interest, but Michelle Bonai, the township administrator in Orange, has expressed interest. So I'll move to support the appointment of Michelle Bonai, Orange Township Administrator, as the Delaware County Township Land Bank Representative for a term commencing on January 1st, 2023, and ending December 31st, 2023. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion?
I was
Yes.
approached by a county commissioner to have a seat on this committee, but one of the duties of this committee is to grant demolition funds. And so knowing that the timing of Mr. Horning-King's paperwork might coordinate perfectly with when Delaware County is dishing out funds for demolition money, we could have an eligible project which would save our ARPA funds from being hit. So I didn't want to sit on that committee, which could cause a conflict of interest. So I declined.
Thank you.
Right? Makes sense.
I guess the question is, what do we have to do to request that funding?
We have to wait for it to be offered
Yeah.
first.
All right.
Mr. Antoinette?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman? Ms. Vaughn?
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you, Paul.
One other
more?
thing, thank you to the police department on Halloween. They heard that I had large candy bars, so I had extra police attention on my block, so. Thank you.
Gosh. Well, they must have not got my message because I didn't see anybody. But I do live at a dead end. It's okay. We had a table in the middle of the street anyway. It's okay. You couldn't have got past. All right, maintenance. Right, Bob?
Yep, thank you. First item is Parks Advisory Board presentation of the prioritized list of projects, and I'll have Molly McKeel address that.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right, so in your packet this week, you should have had the document that has the trustee, well, it was titled Determining Trustee Priorities for 2023, and at the bottom of it, it has what the Parks Advisory Committee determined as that group's top priorities. And the request was that you guys would read through what the committee had determined as top priorities, and that tonight we could come up with any changes that you guys have to have a trustee top priorities that we would operate from. So this is something that we have done every year, the last few years. in past years, we've kind of been behind the 8 ball. And so this year, we're trying to get ahead of the game and get it in as budgeting talks are taking place so that, we can have those priorities and then Bob can be doing some of the budgeting around it. What the committee came up with, we do a top 5. This year, as we talked through all of the possibilities, the big one that came out was that we have a lot of aging playground equipment and not a lot of funding to replace those aging pieces of equipment. So the committee felt that it was really important to put money aside for capital improvements for such things as that playground equipment. We have in the Parks and Trails Master Plan the intention to purchase parkland when it comes available. Well, we have to have the money set aside for that, for when that possibility might come up, as well as always continuing to add to our trail connectors. One of the big things with the trails is you have to have the easements in order to put in the actual trail. So that's always the biggest challenge, is getting all of those easements. But even after that, when you get the easements, then you've got to have the money to actually put the trail in. So all of that is what the committee considered to fall into capital improvements. So that came out as the biggest thing. Is the recommendation was stick as much money into that capital improvements as possible. Then from there, we chose some smaller, what we felt like would be less expensive activities that could potentially be the priorities for 2023. So one of the activities in the plan is to establish a playground replacement schedule so that we can replace that new or replace that aging equipment. Last night we did come up with a playground replacement schedule that we all agreed upon, so that took care of that. But we used that activity to kind of play off of what would be the next playground that really needs new equipment. And the one that is the worst right now, the oldest, is the one right out here at the Township Hall. That would be a relatively inexpensive as playground equipment can get these days, replacement to do or a park to do. So that came out as the first thing, that this really needs to be replaced out here. Another one we played off of the promote plantings that attract butterflies and birds. And specifically, we want to look at improving no and low mow areas and implementing some meadow areas. So we used that activity, kind of twisted it a little bit to a very specific thing as to what the committee thought was important. Next would be relocating the bird blind. So the bird blind is right out here to the side of the Township Hall building. If we were going to redo that playground, relocating that bird blind from the Township Hall to Worthington Park or the community gardens seemed like an ideal thing to do at the same time. That also is not really a big expense except for the staff to actually take down and relocate the blind itself. Number 5 in the priorities is to install the robust kiosks, information kiosks in all of the parks. So yeah, there's probably some cost associated with actually purchasing the kiosks and things like that. But again, it's a relatively inexpensive cost. And then finally, one of the activities is to pave gravel parking lots. For example, the Worthington Park or the community gardens. We're not sure that at the moment, to pave that entire parking lot would be really expensive. But mostly that apron coming in off of Worthington Road is getting kind of rough. So that's why we denoted specifically just get the apron fixed so that as you enter down into the gravel, it's not quite as potholed as it is now. So that is the priorities that the committee came up with. And I would like some of your feedback to hear if you guys have other activities that you felt were more important, if you want to rearrange these, any kind of feedback.
Anyone?
I appreciate, obviously, the hard work you've been putting into this. Just a couple of quick questions. One is this capital improvement, where would those funds come from to establish your capital improvement?
The levy money. Yeah.
Carryover? And then I noticed 2 and 3 are more of goals rather than investments. So like, man, maybe it's just semantics, but it says establish and implement a playground replacement schedule. Is that all you really want to do, is a schedule?
No,
Okay.
it's kind of like, once the schedule is put in place, the schedule says, okay, here's all of our playground equipment, this is how old all of it is. So like this one out here, for instance, was put in before 1995. That's how old this one is. So then, once that playground replacement schedule is established, then using it as the guide that says, okay, here's what's up next that needs to be replaced, and then using that as the guide to replace it. So yeah, one is just a piece of paper, but then the more specific is using that piece of paper to then drive, where we're gonna put funds in to actually replace equipment.
And then since this is 2023, you would implement that throughout the year, right?
Well,
That makes sense?
Yeah, this year in 2023, so next year, we would only be focusing on this playground. In 2024, we'd be coming and saying, okay, now maybe this playground, if there's funding to replace another playground. In some of that funding, in future years, our intention is to try to find grants and things like that to help pay for that, because they're astronomically expensive
Yeah.
for a playground. It's kind of ridiculous.
Anything else?
That's all.
Just a note, in 2005, both Center Green and Hillmars were installed. They were identical playgrounds. They were $42,000 apiece in 2005, so isn't that crazy? And that was installed with our own labor, so.
I'm always in sticker shock. I just can't believe how much stuff costs.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in addition to the item and the install, there's the demolition of the old one, which is just as bad. As I look at this, I'm looking at number 6, the paving of parking lots. I like the idea of paving the entrance at the gardens. I can't tell you how hard it is to get out of that uphill gravel driveway with traffic going quickly and not throw gravel at the people behind you. And they tease me about being a speed demon, but that has nothing to do with it, okay? Just to be clear. So I like that, doing that apron. Do we have other gravel parking lots besides that in Jaycox? I think, okay, that's it. So that's a limited amount. I was looking at 1 and 2, and I see that the playground equipment replacement is in both of those. Are they there because one is the capital improvement and it's big ticket, and the other one is we're really going to do this?
One is saving for the future replacements
Okay.
that are inevitably coming.
Okay,
And then, because when we looked at the replacement schedule last night, like we've got several years in the near future that are going to have playground equipment replacement. And that's going to take a huge chunk out of, the levy money that we have to spend in the parks. So it's planning for the future and setting aside that money so that when those years come, we do have a start to replacing those pieces. But then also, like I said, the intention is to get some grants to help pay for some of that cost. Then the number 2, with the Township Hall Playground, that is like out of 2023's budget with the full intention of replacing all of that equipment.
okay. All right,
Yeah, and I think part of the replacement schedule is similar to the fire and the police vehicle replacement schedule. Just saving for it, planning for it, and having the money to
It's
get it done.
almost as
Yeah,
expensive.
I know. It's super expensive. All right, that's all I have.
Any questions? And what should I put forth as the trustee priorities? Do you guys all agree upon that the committee's priorities go forth as trustee priorities?
Yeah, I like these.
So these
I don't
are,
have any,
I'm fine.
accept it as published?
You got it.
Awesome.
Nice work, committee.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Molly.
Next up is approval of a supplemental appropriation.
I'll move to approve the following supplemental appropriation in the Road and Bridge Fund from account 2031-910-910-0000 in the amount of $6,000 to account 2031-330-323-0004 in the amount of $6,000. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Mr. Antoinette? Yes. Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, motion carries.
And then the next item is approve then and now purchase orders, and I'll let you go through that and I'll answer the question.
Okay, I'll move to approve the following then and now purchase orders. Delaware County Diesel LLC, $5,932.80 for truck repairs. Shelley Company, $20,000 road resurfacing project. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Go ahead, Bob.
The diesel one is what you passed the 6,000 for. It was to replace the hydraulic cylinder for one of the dump trucks. And 20,000 to Shelley. We got the final contract price from Shelley today, and that 20,000 was left in the license fee. I hadn't wrote a PO to pay for it, but it ended up being, I needed to write it for the whole 20,000.
Okay. Roll call?
Mr. Antoinette?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, motion carries.
Next one is the appropriation for 2023. I'll go through them and hit on how the increases. Starting off with the motor vehicle license fee. I dropped it down 10,000 from this year because there's only 13,000 left as of January 1st, 2023, and you can see the revenue. So I didn't want to keep it at 40, so I dropped them line items down by 5,000 each. Gas tax. The 35,000 that we had in motor vehicles for the truck payment, we're making the last payment this year from last meeting. We passed that. So I added 35,000 into improvement of sites, and you can see 320, and we're going to take in 340 in gas tax revenue next year. The road and bridge. There's no big changes in that until you get down to the contracted services went up by 30,000, and that was because of stuff that we ended up writing more than we had in there this year. That's just a carryover. Gas purchases, I raised up because fuel costs we were about $25,000 short this year, and we did supplementals for that. I dropped road resurfacing from that 1.2 million down to 1,095,000 just to pay for some of the other things. This year, I did about 30 roads. I'm going to drop that down probably to 15 next year because of the way the price of asphalt and stuff is, we just ain't gonna be able to do as much. And I put 50,000 in there for a contingency line in case we run into some problem on one of the roads. There'll be a little cushion already in the budget. Going on down the cemetery, fund, left it the same. We had the same for the last couple of years. We've only been spending about $5,000 a year to maintain the cemetery. So that money's mostly going back in the account. And the permissive tax, we're not collecting as much, so I dropped that down 35,000 so that we just build that fund up a little bit. Any questions about roads or any of them funds?
Why are you collecting less permissive tax? Why does that happen?
Pat, do you know what we get permissive for?
I can get the answer for you. I don't know.
It
I'm
has
just
to do
curious.
with something with the license plates and.
That's what I was wondering, less people buying a car, or? Yeah. Okay.
Maybe we change to like New York or something where we charge $1,500 to use a car.
Yeah, no. Paul, do you want to speak to, I was talking to you and Donna, about the contingency.
Yes, so we had a discussion this past week about trying to alleviate the problem of amending our appropriations every time we need to make a budgetary change. So if we applied, like in Bob's case, he put a contingency dollar amount in his roads fund of $50,000. What that will do is, instead of having, if we do run out of money in a certain fund, if the diesel goes up where you need to put 25,000 of that in there, we can move that money from that contingency line item to the line item where it's needed, and it just takes a board motion to move that money. If we had to add new money into the budget to cover that expense, then we would have to go through the paperwork of amending the appropriations and sending them up to the county budget commission for their stamp of approval on everything. So to alleviate that problem in the future, we're gonna start budgeting for contingencies a little heavier than we have. For the larger funds like police and fire, we're estimating $100,000 contingencies in those. For general fund and road maintenance, $50,000 contingencies. So it should help speed up the accounting process for Donna and Pat.
It won't really change what we do, because we're still going to have to pass a motion. It's more on their end, that they don't have to keep going to the county and telling them to move the money.
We have to amend the appropriations.
Right.
We're just, all we need you to do is say, yeah, go ahead and move the money, it's fine to move the money.
Right.
So we've already gone through police and fire. If they've each added $100,000 into a contingency fund, where did that come from within their budgets?
Carryover dollar amounts.
Okay, thank you. I wrote a check.
Good one.
No,
Don't cash it.
no, I'm not the godfather of accounting. It comes out of carryover funds.
I just knew it had to come from somewhere.
And if not used, it'll go back in
Right.
next year, so.
Are you good, Bob, or you got parks? I got parks. Yep.
Next year, I'm proposing to hire a full-time person in parks, and that wages and benefits are all included. We talked about it at the Parks Advisory Board, and they thought it was time that we need to do that. I think it's really the time to do it because we're gonna leave the restrooms open now year-round. I had to cover them. Plus, we never seem to be able to get to maintaining the parks like we should be. Because the 3 employees I have, all they do is mow, and that's all they got time to do. So this person is gonna be dedicated to the parks and go around and do park work all the time and no mowing.
Which means weeding, correct? Weeding,
Weeding,
weeding.
fixing stuff that breaks. We don't seem to get around to fixing things quick enough.
Well, and to be honest, it was the Parks Committee that brought this up.
Yeah, they
And they
did.
were the one that suggested
They
to
did.
Bob that he hire someone because the weeds, we get a lot of complaints about the weeds.
So that's why that money is in there. And then, if you go on back, I put money, 20,000 for Worthington, for the apron up there, 125,000 in for the township hall replacement and playground. 20,000 for Hillmar, anything extra that we don't buy out of the COVID money. And 10,000 for a new mower that I have to have. And as you can see, the carryover balance since the levy started 2 years ago now is 219,000. Plus, we're gonna get 125,000 back from the state for their share of Freeman Road Park improvement. So that'll go into the carryover, and I'm not proposing spending any of that to kind of go along with what Molly said tonight. So there's gonna be roughly 340,000 in that carryover balance next year. Questions?
Bob, I'm not sure where this is. This is expenditures, but expenditures are based on money coming in. Last year, we talked a little bit about park rates, rental rates. And unfortunately, we have a history of doing this at the reorg meeting, which is too late to do it. So I don't know if the Parks Committee has talked about this at all. I want to bring it up early because I know that historically, we've been after the game.
We talked about that last night,
Okay,
and there'll be recommendations coming for the reorg.
perfect.
Yeah, Molly's on it this year with the budget.
Good
and the-
job,
and
Molly.
She's on it.
Well, there's a
So-
parks job maybe.
Yeah, full-time Sparks job.
Meeting. Good, I'm glad that's on the radar, because like I say, we've been a day late and a dollar short on that for the last couple years.
Yeah, there was extensive discussion last night about
Good.
rates of all the facilities. Anything else?
That's all I got. If don't have any more questions.
Fine.
Thank you.
I'm looking, I thought I had a,
I'll go while you're doing that.
go ahead.
Under repairs and maintenance buildings, I'm just gonna hit the ones that just pop out, because it went from 2,000 to 32,000. What are we doing with $30,000 in '23?
We are replacing 6 of the overhead doors at the garage because they are falling down and they have not had any repairs or anything done on them for, the building's been there about 22 years.
I have one. The,
Done.
sorry.
I don't wanna lose track.
All right.
So I understand the additional staff for parks, but you're going from 70,000, you're increasing by 60,000, but you have 3 staff that's costing you 70,000, and you're gonna add one that's 60,000.
The 3 staff are in buildings and grounds. They're not in this, that was general fund.
That's fine. On that same page, contracted services went from 4,500 to 58,000.
I noticed that is a misprint.
Oh, good.
Should be
Saved some money already.
That is, I don't have that buzz here, but
Make one up.
that is, no, that.
Let's make it
It's
5,000.
not even close to that.
No,
Something's wrong with one line or the other is wrong.
Contracted services under parks.
2171-610, 360.
I don't know, I'm trying to get.
It's amazing what 10 can do. Maybe it's 5,800. We don't need to figure it out now. It just popped out.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I'll let you know, Mark.
I always like to see, prior to proposed year, this spreadsheet's got a lot of information, but I don't see any bottom line on this thing that I can read. What we spent last year and what we're spending next year. It seems like a simple question, but maybe it isn't.
On parks.
That's just parks.
Yeah, but they're all separate budgets.
I know. That's why it's. Okay, I got you. Roads is about a 54,000 increase. Cemetery is the same.
So Bob, back to roads, you're gonna plan to pave half of the amount of streets next summer versus this summer? Because of cost.
I submitted to the county to resurface 7 roads, and then we're gonna do 10 in-house.
Okay.
And we did how many additional this year?
We did 30 this year.
And that was more than we planned.
And we did 23 in-house this year and 7 for the county resurfacing program.
And under parks, you have 20,000 next year designated to Hillmar. Is that for the playground?
Is for the trails. I put it in there just to have money. I just stuck that in there for a placeholder.
Okay. Savings, or you plan to do something with it next year?
I'm planning on doing something with it at
Okay.
Hiltmar.
Okay. All right. I don't have anything else. Anybody else?
Mark, in answer to your question, not in answer, but let me just say in addition to the contracted services for parks, on the original sheet that we got, it showed 4,500 as the proposed appropriation amount, but it also showed year-to-date for that was $69,041.86. And then projected for next year is 58. So between 69 and 58 is much closer than 4,500.
Yeah.
The contracted services, the total was 81,500 was the final appropriation. And we spent, as of today's date, 72,866. So them numbers are from an old sheet.
Anyone else have questions? Bob, do you have anything else for us?
No, I don't have anything else.
All right, thank you. Next, we'll
Okay.
move to police.
Good evening. Have a request from Lieutenant Rich Lyon to get approval to participate in the tuition reimbursement program by going to get his bachelor's degree at Southern Eastern University, bachelor's degree in criminal justice. He thinks they'll credit him between 60 and 90 of the credit hours of the 120 required, so he only is going to need between 60 and 30 hours to complete. But it is required by the contract to get approval to attend the school, and then he'll submit the cost if he gets the grades that are required.
Okay, I'll move to approve the tuition reimbursement for Lieutenant Rich Lyon for a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Southeastern University per Article 15, tuition reimbursement in the Ohio Patrolmen's Benevolent Association Union Agreement. Reimbursement will be based upon final grades. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Antoinette? Yes. Ms. Goodman? Yes. Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, motion carries.
Okay, now for my appropriations. I've given you a spreadsheet that shows you 2022 appropriations and 2023 appropriations, as well in the right-hand column, the change in each. It didn't print out in color, but there are some reductions in there. The lighter shaded ones are the reductions. I'm sorry? Yours came in color? Okay. I'll go over the significant changes. Salaries increased $163,948. That's per the union contract. Raises primarily. The four and a half non-union employees, 4 full-time, 1 part-time, we put a placeholder in of 3%, but obviously that'll change based on whatever the trustees decide. And then fringe benefits increased by $117,000. So that's basically, salaries and fringe benefits are basically 87 to 88% of our total budget. Those are fixed costs that we have no control over. Those are all contractual. And that totals $280,948 increase. And then what I call the discretionary costs and the other categories increased by a total of $76,900. Of those, some of the significant ones are accounting and legal fees increased by $15,000 since we're going to be negotiating a new contract this year, and you know how legal fees are. So hopefully that goes smoothly and we don't spend that much money. Repairs and maintenance for the building increased by $7,500 since now all of our mechanical systems are out of warranty. And like most mechanical systems, once they go out of warranty, they start having problems. And we're starting to have some of those crop up. Electricity increases by $12,000 based on this year's usage, and we just increased it at a previous meeting. So electricity and natural gas with inflation, I think everybody's seen the rise in prices there, so that's no shock.
Have you considered aggregation?
What's that? Contracted services increases by $25,000 based primarily on increases in janitorial costs, software costs, and IT services. And janitorial services are going to be $17,500. We did not budget near that amount in 2022. One of the things we're seeing with that is the cost of supplies. Again, inflation, toilet paper, cleaning supplies, all those things are really going up. Software IT costs, increase of $5,000. Camera maintenance for our internal cameras, the security cameras on the building, that's increasing $5,000. So that's where the bulk of the increases in contracted fees come from. I am going to make a change on your sheet under the K-9 fund. It says $20,000. I'm going to take that down to $10,000 because of a discussion I'm going to have with you following the appropriations about potentially adding a second therapy dog. So if you change that from $20,000 to $10,000. And then the other thing on there is we're increasing our transfers out by $130,000, and that's to cover the cost of the purchase of four police cruisers, which we've talked at previous meetings, and those are currently on order. So that's really the highlights. We did also increase our contingencies by $50,000 up to $100,000 as described by Mr. Wise. So be happy to answer any questions you might have on any particular categories.
Anyone have questions?
Chief and I talked about any questions I
Yeah.
had, so we're good.
Likewise, I had a discussion. Do you have any
No, I
questions?
didn't. The only one that jumps out at me is $15,000 for a canine dog.
Yeah, I'm reducing that. So it's going from 5,000 this year to 10,000 in
Oh, okay, so
2023.
additional 5.
Just an additional 5,
Okay.
yeah. And I'm going to talk about that
I was gonna
more
say,
in
I want
detail
one of
coming
those
up.
dogs up there.
Yeah,
That's fine.
yeah, and dog food has really gone up. I know, I've got some sticker shock recently.
Okay, I don't have any questions on the
Okay,
budget.
that leads into a discussion, and Connie talked about the middle school therapy dog, which has really worked out far beyond my expectations. And I know, Renee, you were there the first day that Rocky was at school and saw how the students responded to him. And it's just been an overwhelming response. We've continued to receive messages from the staff and internally, what a wonderful job the Rocky and the therapy dog program is doing there. And we had always had a goal of adding a second dog to the high school. And we had to have some lengthy discussions with the high school and address some of the concerns about putting a dog in the high school, because obviously high school kids are different than middle school kids. One of the benefits, though, is that all these middle school kids that are used to a therapy dog there now, you know, the 8th graders next year going to 9th grade, they're going to be used to that. So we just this week did get approval from the high school to add a second therapy dog to the high school. And I'm going through the selection process right now on that. Couple things. One, we have a breeder that we're working with who has a litter that will be ready to go in December. And a lot of this timing is based on, are there dogs available, are there litters available? Now, this breeder is probably one of the premier breeder of therapy dogs, at least in Central Ohio, maybe in the state. She's placed a therapy dog. Franklin County Sheriff Therapy Dog Mattis is one of her dogs. Simon of CPD Therapy Dogs is one of her dogs. She's got a great track record with these types of dogs, and she can pick out the puppies and tell by their temperament at about 8 weeks which ones will be a good quality. And she said she's got a litter with about 5 possible candidates. The problem is she sells these dogs before they're ever born. So we need to make a commitment that we want one of the dogs if we want to get this litter. Otherwise, we have to go back to the drawing board. And the reason why that's important in the timing is if we get the dog in December, it's about an 8-9 month training process to get that dog ready to go into school. And we saw that with Rocky. Now, that it took Rocky that long to go through the training, so he was ready to go at the beginning of the school year. Our goal is to have this dog ready to go in the high school at the beginning of the 2023 school year. And with, you know, some of the issues we see with our high school students and the challenges they face, we really think it's important to get a dog in there for them, for their, you know, mental health and just all around care of the students. So in order to get the dog ready, then we'd have to get the dog in December, go through the training process. The good news is training costs will be very minimal because Officer Berner now is certified to do almost all the training. I think there's a week-long class he would have, the new SRO or the SRO would have to go to with the dog, but other than that, Berner will do the bulk of the training. The purchase price for this puppy is around $2,500. We may get a little bit of break on that, I don't know. I can tell you that over the years, we've received donations for our canine program several years in a row. And while I can't get you an exact number, I can confidently tell you that our expenditures have not exceeded the aggregate amount of those donations over the years. It's probably been about 40 to 50% of that. So, you know, that carryover of the donations is still there, but we are still going to go out and in the meantime, look for donations. And if anybody's out there and wants to donate to this program, be happy to accept those donations. And we'll also look for any grants that are available. But what I'd like to do is get a consensus from the board to authorize the purchase of this additional canine for the police department. And then I'm going to ask for a supplemental appropriation, so I have enough funds to purchase the dog in December. And that's why I'm reducing the 2023 amount down, because we won't need that much money for the training. It'll be basically food and vet costs after the initial purchase.
You and I have talked about this too, and I believe that Officer Graham he's our SRO in the high school. And
is.
he is ready and willing to be a handler for a new puppy.
He is, but by our policy, I have to open it up and allow everybody in the department to apply for the position and then go through a selection process.
Thank you for
And that's what I'm
clarifying.
I've sent that notice out, and I've received one application so far. So I'm going through that process.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Comments?
I'm trying to figure out how this benefits the township. I understand it benefits select students in the school, but how do we justify that this benefits the taxpayers of Genoa Township?
It's the children of the taxpayers. And if you go into school, and it's not just special needs kids or kids with mental health issues, it's all the kids. I mean, it's amazing to see the interaction with the students, and it also breaks down a barrier between a lot of students and police officers, which we're trying to do. So there's a lot of kids that may not approach that police officer, but now with the dog, they're doing that. And we saw that in the school, and we saw that on trick or treat night. And I think it's that community policing effort that is really critical to keeping the trust and confidence of the taxpayers in the police department. And it's not just the schools, they'll both be at different special events. Rocky's already been to a couple other schools where they had critical incidents with injuries to students, went up to Big Walnut and helped out up there. There's a regional therapy dog team that can do that. Also working internally in the police department as part of our officer wellness program. I was just at a conference in Dallas, Chiefs of Police Conference, and there's a lot of departments using therapy dogs just internally for the department, for the officers and staff. So I'm a big believer in the program. I think there's a tremendous benefit, and the taxpayers see it through their kids primarily.
I had the same questions, and I did talk to the chief before the meeting because it wasn't on the agenda originally. And I do like the fact that you have donations left over that you can at least purchase the dog through that, so that's not taxpayer money. And I did ask, the chief has agreed that they're going to look for outside funding for some of this, even after the fact.
Sure, yeah.
So that's helpful, because I agree that I think it's a great program. I was there the first day that Rocky was in the middle school. It was great. Those kids, it was amazing. They loved the dog. I mean, they bombarded him. And he took it very well. He's a very, very hyper dog, but very good dog. So I can attest to it, but I agree that I think there has to be a balance between outside funding and then township funds.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all.
Okay. So I'll move to approve the following supplemental appropriation in the police fund from account 2191-210-341-0000 in the amount of $5,000 to account 2191-210-490-0020 of $5,000. Do I have a second?
Second?
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Antoinette?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman? Yes. Ms. Vaughn?
Yes. Motion carries.
Thank you. That's all I have, unless there's any questions.
I don't. Nope. Thank you. Anything else before I close here? Announcements. November 8th is Election Day. November 9th, the Citizens Police Advisory Committee meets. November 10th, the Communication Advisory Committee meets. November 11th, the offices are closed for Veterans Day. November 14th, there's a Zoning Commission meeting. November 15th, the Board of Zoning Appeals meets. November 24th and 25th, the offices are closed for Thanksgiving. And the next regular trustee meeting is December 1st, 2022. At this time, I'll move to adjourn to executive session at 8:14 PM to consider the employment of a public employee. Do I have a second?
Second?
Mr.
Yep,
Antoinette?
thank you.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, motion carries. We're now adjourned into executive session.
that sounds bad on the recording.
There you go.
Okay. I'll move to return from executive session to the regular trustee meeting at 8:39 PM. Do I have a second?
Second?
Very good. Roll call?
Mr. Antonez?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, motion carries. To clarify, the three trustees, trustee Goodman, trustee Antonez, and trustee Vaughn, myself, we attended executive session and no one else. At this time, I'll move to adjourn this meeting at 8:39 PM. Do I have a second?
Second?
Call?
Trustee Antonez? Trustee Goodman?
Yes.
Trustee Vaughn?
Yes, motion carries. We're adjourned at 8:39 PM.